The Navy and its admirals have a well-defined hierarchy, with the top tier, the elite, being the admirals. You might think that there have been only a few admirals in history, but the number might be higher than you imagine. In fact, there was an admiral during Roger's time, that era of legendary and powerful pirates. Let's get to know these Navy legends. Zephyr. Like every sailor, he had a family and genuinely loved them. Unfortunately, his family was killed by pirates. Not only that, but he also had his arms severed. After all he went through, he developed an immense hatred for all pirates. His main goal was to annihilate the New World and destroy the emperors, as he feared that pirates would command the New World and balance the three powers. But despite this information, you probably want to know more about his abilities, right? Well, a highlight we must mention about Zephyr is that he didn't possess any Akuma no Mi and was already considered an admiral, which means his power was extreme at the time. Zephyr relied much more on his haki, brute strength, and especially his intelligence. In his battle against Luffy, he understood how Gear Second worked and was fighting him effortlessly. An interesting detail is that Zephyr tells Kizaru not to rely so much on his devil fruit, which implies that he has a deep knowledge of the Akuma no Mi and that haki would also be useful in battle. Currently, Zephyr is dead, as shown in the movie One Piece, Zed. Although he doesn't seem that strong in the movie, if Zephyr were canonized in the main story, Oda would certainly give him a power boost worthy of his title. He's an interesting character with a tremendous sense of justice. Sengoku. Now, the second person we will talk about is Sengoku. Many people might already know him, as he was the first fleet admiral we saw, though not the first we knew about. Sengoku is an extremely important character in the entire One Piece story. He fought immense battles during the era of Roger and other notable names like Rox D. Zebek, Whitebeard, Big Mom, Kaido, and others. His fruit is called the Buddha fruit, respecting his abilities. When he enters his Buddha form, his attacks start producing tremendously strong shockwaves, to the point of giving Teach a good thrashing with his palm. Currently, Sengoku is retired, so to speak, as he still participates in matters related to the Navy, but not in the same way as before, in his former role as Fleet Admiral, acting as a sort of advisor. Despite being quite old and debilitated now, his strength and abilities are incomparable. So much so that Roger himself said that if the Navy wanted to catch him, they would have to send either Garp or Sengoku himself. This already demonstrates the great power this former fleet admiral possesses. Someone with such power was considered one of the few capable of capturing Roger, and obviously, when we refer to capturing in One Piece, there will be battles. So, this statement from Roger was not made lightly. The old man is truly insane, folks. Aokiji. Particularly, Aokiji is a very laid-back and quite lazy admiral, rarely showing shock at anything. But despite his motto being known as Lazy Justice, he is extremely strong. When he was first introduced, he gave a good thrashing to all the Straw Hats who were there at that time. His Akuma no Mi, called the Haihie no Mi, Ice Fruit, simply defeated all the Straw Hats easily. Despite being labeled as lazy, when the situation demands extreme caution, he acts seriously. He is a very honest man in his decisions and never acts cowardly. One example we can cite is that he did not break his promise not to attack Luffy's crew after fighting one-on-one with him. He is a man of his word, who despite living in a corrupt system, still tried to be as righteous as possible. Despite trying to do the right thing, Aokiji always questioned the actions of Admiral Akainu, whom I will talk about briefly later. Aokiji had a great grudge against Sakazuki Akainu, precisely because of his extreme and corrupt sense of justice. This hatred has a reason: the lack of understanding and the cold-bloodedness Akainu showed in killing the innocents living in Ohara, so that none would escape alive. With various contradictions between the two, a confrontation was inevitable. Both dueled for the position of Fleet Admiral because Aokiji did not agree that someone like Akainu should be selected for such a position. Aokiji ended up being defeated by Akainu, and after realizing how corrupt the Navy was becoming, decided to resign from his position as Admiral and become a traveler of the world. Currently, he is with Blackbeard's crew, for a reason that we still do not know. Kizaru. Now, moving on to another character, let's talk about him. The man who moves at the speed of light and talks like a snail, haha. Yes, Kizaru Borsalino. As many of you may know, Kizaru is well known for his exaggerated calmness and sarcasm in his words. It's practically impossible to tell when he's being serious or not. The guy is simply an enigma. Kizaru is an extremely strong character, with his fruit being called the Pika Pika no Mi, or simply the light fruit. It's simply one of the strongest Akuma no Mi, as it grants incredible speed to the user. Moreover, his strength is tremendous, as Kizaru's speed makes his attacks even more dangerous. He was the second admiral we saw in the entire One Piece story, making his first appearance in Sabaody, where he demonstrated his incredible and fearsome powers. He simply defeated the Straw Hats as if they were nothing, and toyed with everyone, doing the same with some of the supernovas like Uruj, Basil Hawkins, X-Drake, and Apu. To give you an idea, Kizaru has an ability called Yata no Kagami, which is a mirror that allows him to attack in a straight line quickly. It's a fruit with its highs and lows, but undoubtedly it is extremely useful in battle. Unlike Aokiji and Akainu, Kizaru's justice is quite peculiar, being called uncertain justice, as judging by his personality and actions, Kizaru appears to be a neutral person. He is an interesting character who seems not to feel fear, considering his personality. Fujitora. Now, let's talk about Fujitora, an admiral who is probably liked by many because of his peaceful and pleasant personality and his opposition to Akainu's actions. Fujitora is a very peculiar character. As we know, the world of One Piece is not the best place to live. It's an extremely corrupt world. Because of this, Fujitora blinded himself so he couldn't see the corruption the world displayed. Despite his peaceful personality, Fujitora is an extremely strong character with great swordsmanship skills, able to withstand kicks from Doflamingo in the Dressrosa arc. Something also worth highlighting is the power of his fruit, the Zushi Zushi no Mi. This fruit literally allows the user to manipulate gravity in a specific location, like when he brought a meteor down on an island where he, Doflamingo, and Law were. Despite his certain hatred for the Shichibukai and pirates in general, he seems to genuinely like Luffy and his crew. A good example of this is when he says he didn't want to be blind when talking to Luffy so that he could see his face. Fujitora is an incredibly interesting and captivating character, conscious of his justice, and is a righteous character. Akainu, well, let's talk about him now. Yes, the most hated character in One Piece. Akainu, haha, jokes aside, there are those who like him and those who don't, but well, taste is subjective in many cases, so let's leave that aside. Akainu is an extremely harsh, cruel character who firmly believes in his absolute justice. He believes that for justice to prevail, it doesn't matter what methods and ends his actions lead to. In the end, what he does is for justice and justice alone. He is a highly controversial character in One Piece, but he seems not to care about that. His fruit is called the Magma Fruit, which, in my perception, strongly references Akainu's absolute justice. His justice consists of crushing all those who go against his idea and taking extreme measures, even killing people. It parallels magma, which burns everything in a crushing sequence. Although the user is not the most pleasant person in the world, the fruit is extremely powerful, so much so that it was ranked as one of the most powerful in terms of offensive power by Eiichiro Oda himself. To give you an idea, this fruit can bring high temperatures to the environment, enough to harm many opponents in battle. Additionally, Akainu can also launch magma into the air to serve as a bombardment in consecutive attacks. This fruit is relentless, even stronger than Ace's fruit. Due to the conflicts Aokiji had with him, they didn't get along because of their opposing ideals. Later, Akainu was suggested to become Fleet Admiral, but Aokiji did not accept this and challenged Akainu for the position. In the end, Akainu won and became the new Fleet Admiral that everyone sees today. By the way, he's a character that many dislike, and it's understandable why, but it's undeniable that his design and fruit are interesting. Aramaki. This is a very peculiar character as he was introduced in an enigmatic way at the beginning and was only further explored at the end of the Wano arc. Despite his lazy and laid-back personality, which somewhat parallels Aokiji, he is very devoted to his ideals and the world government, so much so that he agrees with the idea that the Tenryubito are the gods of the world and that nothing should oppose them. An example of this ideology is his statement that anyone not allied with the world government should be immediately massacred, even if they were civilians. He intended to do the same with the people of Wano if they did not cooperate. Despite being a rather complicated character, his achievements are notable. One of them is having easily dealt with the beast pirates, defeating Queen with ease, and having a good fight with Yamato. His fruit is quite interesting, called the Mori Mori no Mi, or simply the forest fruit. Basically, it is a fruit connected to nature itself and appears to be awakened, as he can merge with the nature of his fruit. Despite his actions and ideology, he seems to be doing this with one thing in mind: his admiration for Sakazuki. Aramaki's actions are utterly indescribable, as he planned his own ship to Wano, knowing that it was not allowed. He did this because he believed he could get Luffy's head and resolve the situation quickly, all to impress Akainu. He is a peculiar character, much like Sakazuki. Both have similar beliefs, but the difference is that Akainu seems not to express much opinion about the Tenryubito, so it is uncertain whether he supports them or not. Kong. Moving on to the third character we will talk about now, Kong. He is a very curious character about whom we don't know much, since Eiichiro Oda has not yet brought us much closer to this character. But from what we currently know in the story, during the time when Sengoku was an admiral, Kong was already a fleet admiral, which is quite impressive and somehow displays his strength and influence in the Navy. Currently, he holds a position higher than Sengoku, which is that of Commander-in-Chief of the world government. Incredibly, this character is only behind the Gorosei themselves in influence. He is really a difficult character to talk about, as there is not much information. But one thing we can't doubt is he is an incredibly strong character. Vice Admirals already use Haki, Admirals do too, so obviously he does as well. Not only that, but Kong should be someone quite comparable to the great names of the piracy era, such as Roger, Shiki, Kaido, and others. Because of his name, Kong, in reference to a monkey, many theorize that he might have the mythical Zoan fruit of the monkey Sun Wukong from Journey to the West. It would be very impressive if this were true, as it would further highlight his strength. So, who do you think is the strongest admiral? Is Garp stronger than anyone on this list? Comment below, I want to see everyone's opinion. Subscribe to the channel and activate notifications so you don't miss the next videos. I'm bringing many One Piece videos for you, and it seems you are enjoying them. On the screen, there are 2 interesting videos about One Piece. Click and watch, you won't regret it.